I don't know about you, but I'm pretty meticulous with my songwriting process. I'm one of those composers who really likes to take the time to make sure that all the notes are in the right place, all the little variations and types of phrasing are chosen properly, and that all the themes and riffs really melt into each other properly. Because especially in my case, doing instrumental music, I really don't like it when your song just feels like a salad or a soup of riffs. It should feel like something cohesive that really has a structural line going through it. But hey, sometimes, I don't know if it's by divine Cthulhu-ish intervention or something like that, we're actually blessed with song ideas that practically write themselves. Like in the case of my latest released song, Wandering in the Fog, which if you haven't, you can and should go check out anywhere you listen to your music at. That song, for the most part, wrote itself in under 20 minutes. I've mentioned it in another video, which you can go check out, but I was working around with this voicing for a G minor 11 chord, and I made a cool riff/chord progression around it. And I thought it sounded cool, so I then just needed a melody for it. So I got my looper, looped those chords, and started just improvising over it. And I then found out this melody, again in G minor. Which really isn't anything fancy, it's just G minor and moving over different chord shapes and chord tones to kind of follow the chord progression of the riff I mentioned before. And honestly, both of those really sounded cool, so I then recorded those on my phone so I wouldn't forget about them, and I even left a tag on it that they would probably do good as a verse riff and verse melody. So I started to think to myself, well, if that's going to be the verse, then something has to be the main riff or the main chorus. Since we were working in G minor, why not take a riff that is in G minor but add some G major chords to it? And I ended up with the main riff. With the G major chord, this chord that is basically an E flat 9 chord, a D chord, C minor, B flat, A flat, and then F. And alongside those passing notes, I had a cool melody that would do great as a chorus melody. Verse was done, chorus was done. I always like to have a pre-chorus or a bridge on it, and I thought that a cool way to do it would be to take the chords out of the verse and just change the voicing of it or the inversion of it. Figured out a melody for that part too. The only part that I was missing was a breakdown. And to be honest, this was the only part that wasn't really done in those 20 minutes, because while working around in all these riffs in G minor, I remember this one riff that I had again in the digital drawer of riffs in my phone that happened to be a chunky riff also in G minor that could probably do a cool breakdown. I then used that riff as a little bit of a theme that shows up in other sections, like the bridge section. They all actually blended super cool into each other. Obviously, I then had to figure out details like orchestration, instrumentation, little guitar solos, and melody variations, but all of those are details. The core of the song, the meat of the song, that actually turned itself in, like I mentioned before, in probably under 20 minutes. Which is rare, at least for me, but like I mentioned before, is super cool when it happens. Is this sort of a thing that happens to you very often, where you just write a song very quickly, or you find a couple of riffs that really write themselves? Let me know. While you're at it, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on all the notifications, follow and stay tuned for more, because I'm releasing new songs every week, and I'm releasing new videos every day, twice a day. If you enjoyed this one, I'm sure you'll enjoy the other ones too, so perhaps even share them with a friend who might also enjoy them. In case it wasn't obvious already, go check out my latest released song, Wandering in the Fog, anywhere you listen to your music at, and I want to once again take the time to thank you guys so much for all the support in these songs and videos. I can only thank you guys so much, but it really means a lot and it really makes a difference. With that being said, I can only hope to see you in another video, but until then, cheers! obviously love solos and licks. I am a guitar player after all. But if I have to be honest, I kinda like chords better. Because you can do a lot of interesting things with chords. Not only can you take a pretty normal chord, like let's say a G major chord, and add extra notes to it and give it a completely different vibe, like maybe you make it a G sharp 11 chord, and you make it a super dreamy chord that is still a G major chord, but just extra spicy. And even sometimes you don't really need to add extra notes to it, you can just change the way they're laid out, because if you play a G major chord like this, it has a different vibe than playing it like this, or than even playing it like this. And I remember this one time I was just messing around with this shape for a G minor 11 chord, which is basically a G minor chord, but you add the 4th or the 11th, in this case the note C, and I'm doing this shape with the G on the 6th string, the open D string as the 5th, the B flat as the 3rd on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string, the C here on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and lastly another G on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And I thought that chord voicing sounded super cool, so I then started to switch it around and was like, hey, what if I do it in C minor instead? In the case of C minor, I guess I could probably play the G with the side knuckle of my thumb here, but it would just become way too complicated, so if I just keep the D string open, this is still kind of a C minor 11 chord, but now I've added a 9th to it, and I don't really have the 5th anymore. But it still sounds cool. And if our song was in G minor, we could have chords like G minor and C minor, and that's still kind of what we have here if we just use the exact same shape. G minor, C minor. There's just a little bit fancy with extra notes to them. And I then noticed we already have a G minor, and we already have a C minor. We're kind of just missing a D minor or a D7 chord to make a G minor blues chord progression. What if I take the exact same shape? What if I use it for G as well? What if I just play it here on the 10th fret with the D on the bass? It becomes a D minor 11, and I was thinking more like a D7 with the 4th added to it, which even though works in this position, wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep that same shape that I was using on the G minor and C minor. And I noticed that if I moved the shape from G to A, I could have that D7 chord. I'm actually just missing the more important note, which is the F sharp, but I could then have my minor blues. In fact, I could have multiple minor blues, because if I'm doing a melody or just improvising over these chords, over the G minor 11, it's just a G minor. I'll have to use those notes. Any other note that I choose to use is just a color note. The same thing for the C minor chord. But when it comes to this D, because we're not having the F sharp, you can kind of think of it as a suspended chord. So when you're soloing and improvising over it, you're the one who gets to choose. It's going to be a D minor 7 or a D7, aka a major chord or a minor chord. And I just thought it was super cool. In fact, it led to the verse section of my latest release song, Wandering in the Fog, which if you haven't, you can and should go check out anywhere you listen to your music at, which ended up sounding like this. Like I mentioned before, it is basically a minor blues, nothing much more fancy to it, but it became cooler because of the way we got to that minor blues. Because we were just messing around with chord inversions and using the exact same shape, again helped by the open string, we ended up figuring out all these different versions and inversions of chords that perhaps other instruments like the piano couldn't figure out in this way, because this is very much a guitar player thing to do when it comes to shapes and positions and how easily transposable most chord positions actually are. And like I said before, I just think it's really cool. Is this sort of thing something that you do often, where you take a chord shape and you just move it around to different positions, either not really worrying about what type of chord it is, just looking for something that sounds cool to you, or even like in my case, trying to figure out a cool way to play a chord progression that is super common, like a 12-bar blues or a minor blues, but add a little bit of extra spice to it? Let me know. And while you're at it, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and on all the notifications, follow and stay tuned for more, because I'm releasing new songs every week. I'm releasing new videos every day, twice a day. If you enjoyed this one, I'm sure you'll enjoy the other ones too, so perhaps even share it with a friend who might also enjoy them. In case it wasn't obvious already, go check out my latest release song, Wandering in the Fog, anywhere you listen to your music at, and I'm going to take the opportunity to once again thank all of you guys for all the support in these songs and videos. I can only thank you guys so much, but it really means a lot and it really makes a difference. With that being said, I hope to see you in another video, but until then, cheers! Is it just me, or do we get specific vibes from different keys? I've mentioned in another video, which you can go check out, that when I play in D minor, specifically in like D harmonic minor, I kinda get Pirates of the Caribbean vibes, but I found a new one recently while working on my latest release song, Wandering in the Fog, which if you haven't, you can and should go check out anywhere you listen to your music at, where I was working around this chord progression that is basically a minor blues, where we have like, even though they're fancier chords, it's basically like G minor, C minor, back to G minor, and then D7. And I wasn't really thinking much of it, but I was doing those chords and I was trying to find a melody over it, which ended up as something like... which really isn't anything fancy, it's pretty much just outlining those chords. And I didn't really think much of it, but then I recorded the melody over those chords to really get the vibes and feel how it was going. But as I was listening back to it, I thought to myself, this reminds me of Still Loving You by the Scorpions. I obviously can put the song Still Loving You in this video without it being blocked, but it has some extra chords to it, like a G minor with an F on the bass, G minor with an E flat on the bass, which you can think of as like an E flat major 7, a quick detour over E flat 7, and only then do we resolve to the D7. So I guess there's that similarity in the sense that they're both in the key of G harmonic minor for the most part, but I don't really think that they're similar, especially when it comes to the melody, because my melody is very spaced out while theirs has the notes connecting into each other much faster. And even when it comes to the full vibe of the song, mine feels faster because of the way the chords are being arpeggiated in the background. I don't really feel like the songs have a similar vibe, but when I listen to this melody and even other melodies in the case of G minor, or more specifically G harmonic minor, I can't really not feel those Still Loving You vibes. And maybe I'm just crazy. If you know the song Still Loving You, let me know if you feel like there's a similar vibe to it, or if I'm just projecting. Once again, does this sort of a thing of hearing a song or a riff, or even playing in a specific key, remind you of another song, theme, or vibe? Let me know. And while you're at it, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on all the notifications, follow and stay tuned for more, because I'm releasing new songs every week, and I'm releasing new videos every day, twice a day. If you enjoyed this one, I'm sure you'll like the other ones too, so perhaps even share them with a friend who might also enjoy them. In case it wasn't obvious already, go check out my latest released song, Wandering in the Fog, anywhere you listen to your music at, and I'm going to once again take the time to thank you guys so much for all the support in these songs and videos. I can only thank you guys so much, but it really means a lot and it really makes a difference. With that being said, I hope to see you in another video, but until then, cheers! You can often tell when working on a riff that that one is going to be a banger. And if so, maybe you build a whole song around it instead of just having it be a one-time riff that maybe you play once in a song. At the same time, you kinda don't want to tire the listener and make it so that they've heard the riff so many times across the song that suddenly loses its value. And depending on the type of riff, like in the case of my latest released song, Wandering in the Fog, which if you haven't, you can and should go check out anywhere you listen to your music at. I was just working around different extensions of a G minor chord, and I was trying to have the G string, the third string, open throughout me working on the riff, because without it, the riff is just... But if you add the third string to it, it adds a little bit of a different spice to it, and I could tell that it sounded kind of cool like that, just playing it in kind of a vibey, swampy way. But I also figured that if I added some distortion to it, and maybe spaced out the notes a little bit more, making it a little bit more doomish, I could probably morph it into a very cool and heavy and thick breakdown section. But the question then became, how am I going to take that swampy riff and build it up into a heavy breakdown? Obviously, there aren't exactly any rules to it, you can just do it in whichever way you want, and the most basic way possible. If it sounds good, just let it sound good. But the way I thought to do it was to build it up bit by bit. it. With the first couple of repetitions of the riff, I just played single notes with kind of a modest crunchy tone, and then afterwards I would occasionally add the open G string to it, not too often, just every once in a while to add a little bit of extra depth to it. And then I would keep the same structure, but add the open G string to pretty much every note, and then I kind of switched the rhythm of it so that the main riff, the main notes would stay the same, but those open G strings would come on the offbeats. And with the offbeat section there, it kind of gets a little bit faster, which adds to the intensity of it so that we then can explode into the thick part of the breakdown. Here's a little bit of the song, but how I usually mention with these sorts of things, it makes way more sense in the context of the whole song so that all the riffs and themes can really develop. Is this type of manipulating riffs into little variants of the original one something that you do very often? Let me know. And while you're at it, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on all the notifications, follow and stay tuned for more because I'm releasing new songs every week and I'm releasing new videos every day, twice a day. If you enjoyed this one, I'm sure you'll enjoy the other ones too, so perhaps even share them with a friend who might also enjoy them. In case it wasn't obvious already, go check out my latest released song, Wandering in the Fog, anywhere you listen to your music at, and I want to take the time to once again thank you so very much for all the support in these songs and videos. I can only thank you guys so much, but it really means a lot and it really makes a difference. With that being said, I hope to see you in another video, but until then, cheers! My favorite guitar player is probably Marty Friedman. There are definitely other guitar players that I've been equally influenced by and I equally enjoy, but if I had to choose one guitar player to be my favorite, it would have to be Marty Friedman. Songs like Lucretia and obviously Tornado of Souls by Megadeth are probably the main songs that I've really practiced hard in my first years of guitar playing, and even later on with Marty's solo stuff, I can't even begin to think of a number of times that I've played songs like Undertow, Devil Take No Tomorrow, Horrors, Valley of Eternity, Night. From very early on, I really latched on to all the little spicy flavor when it came to his no-choicing in scales and arpeggios, but even those subtle or sometimes not so subtle ways that Marty chooses to bend into a note and how he chooses to vibrato a note were things that I really connected with in ways that with many other guitar players I just didn't do as much. And even when it came to songwriting, I always appreciated that Marty really focuses on melodies and interesting chord progressions, but even then his songs can feature a bunch of solos, both melodic and shreddy, and I always thought that it would be cool to do a song that is Marty Friedman inspired, not only in vibes and riffs, but also with those interesting chord progressions, and try to of course play melodies throughout the song, but also make it so that the line between just playing the melody and doing a solo really isn't that clear. Obviously I have songs with interesting chord progressions and interesting melodies, but none of them usually took me in that direction of having a Marty Friedman type song. And I'm guessing someday it will happen, but the closest to it is probably my latest released song, Wandering in the Fog, which if you haven't, you can and should go check out anywhere you listen to your music at. I can't say that song is very Marty Friedman-ish, nor that I was trying to channel Marty Friedman into it, but there are certainly Marty Friedman vibes in it, especially in the last chorus where I do the melody, but then I move into a solo section. I wasn't really trying to sound Marty Friedman-like, not only consciously, but even in vibe. When I thought of the song, like I mentioned before, it didn't really have a Marty Friedman vibe to me. But after I recorded the song, specifically that little section at the end in the last chorus, I started listening to my own playing and my own soloing and thought to myself, damn, these are kind of some Marty Friedman licks. If you're familiar with my guitar playing, or even if you've heard some of my songs, you know that I often will do some of those in-between bends and try to reach notes from a note before and whatever. So obviously that was going to be featured in this song, whether I was consciously thinking of it or not. But there's even this section with some arpeggios where I was like, that reminds me of something. What is it? Oh, it's Marty Friedman again. I think that your influences, at least to some extent, are always going to show up on your guitar playing, no matter how hard you try to develop your own style. And that's completely normal. It's that mashup of influences plus our own vibes and our inner ear and preferences for note choices that make up us as musicians and our tone and our vibes. You shouldn't be actively trying to copy anyone or anyone's vibe or style, no matter how big of an influence they are, because deep down you should learn how to do the things that you enjoy the sound of, but then use those as techniques and little colors that you can add into your own paintings and your own vibes. Though, with that being said, if I had to picture myself doing a Marty Friedman style song, or even a Marty Friedman type solo, this definitely wouldn't be the song that I would choose to do it in, and I definitely think I could do a better impression of Marty if I tried. But hey, let me know what you think. Has it happened to you that you're trying to do a solo or a song, and you aren't really actively trying to channel one of your influences, but then when you go back and listen to it, that's when you really recognize it? Leave in the comments if it indeed had Marty Friedman vibes to you. And while you're at it, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on all the notifications, follow and stay tuned for more, because I'm releasing new songs every week, and I'm releasing new videos every day, twice a day. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll like the other ones too, so perhaps even share it with a friend who might also enjoy them. In case it wasn't obvious already, go check out my latest release song, Wandering in the Fog, anywhere to listen to your music at, and I want to once again take the time to really thank you guys for all the support in these songs and videos. I can only thank you guys so much, but it really means a lot and it really makes a difference. With that being said, I really hope to see you in another video, but until then, cheers! I've released this song called Wandering in the Fog, which if you haven't, you can and should go check out anywhere listen to your music at, and along with it, I've released a bunch of videos alongside a full playthrough / music video, which you can also go check out on my YouTube channel. Your support on these songs and videos has been amazing, and I can only really thank you guys so much, but it really means a lot and it really makes a difference. With that being said, I hope to see you in another video, because I'm releasing new songs every week and I'm releasing new videos every day, twice a day. If you've enjoyed any of them, I'm sure you'll enjoy the other ones too, so perhaps even share them with a friend who might also enjoy them. And while you're at it, perhaps even leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on all the notifications, follow and stay tuned for more. If you've watched so far, again, thank you so very much, and until we see each other in another video, cheers!